Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is the first in what I am dubbing a Cozy Mystery Favorites Roundup series. Now, what that means is that I'm going to be doing a few videos spotlighting different favorites as they relate to Cozy Mysteries, starting off with this first one in which I'm going to share with you my top 5 favorite Cozy Mysteries. Now, I gotta be honest, this list was a bit tricky to compile simply because obviously I've got more than just 5 favorite Cozy Mysteries, but I feel like this list is a pretty well-rounded depiction of my favorite cozies. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the books. Okay, so let me first start off by putting out there that this list is not in any particular order. It's just 5 of my absolute favorite cozies. I ironically don't always necessarily rattle these off as my recommendations when I'm talking with people, just because I feel like Cozy Mysteries are such almost like a personal experience, and it really boils down to what your specific interests are. But for me, I absolutely adore these for one reason or another, and we will kind of get into the nitty-gritty of all that when I go through the books. This first book will come as no surprise to anyone if you know my channel or my brand whatsoever, but it's a Murder, She Wrote book. More specifically, it's Murder on the QE2, aka the Queen Elizabeth II, and it's the 9th book in the series. Now, the reason that I love this one so much, a couple of reasons, but the first one, aside from it being Murder, She Wrote, is that it's set on a cruise ship. Fun fact, I adore Cozy Mysteries or just book settings in general that take place on a cruise. I think it's fun. I think it's a whimsical way to have a locked room mystery style, and that's one of the main reasons why I love this one. Now, as far as what the book is about, we've got Jessica Fletcher on board this cruise as one of a handful of guest writer lecturers. Simultaneously, she has also written kind of like a mini screenplay that's going to be presented while everyone is on the ship, and one of the guest lecturer ends up being murdered. It's up to her to solve the mystery, and it's just a fun time all around. Again, I adore cruise ship settings, and it's always fun to be with Jessica when she's kind of out and about traveling. Admittedly, there are a lot of books in which she does guest lecturing, but I think this one is especially fun because of the setting and the group of people, because she's not the only writer there, and so you're kind of getting insight into other authors and kind of the style that they have as well, not just her and her mysteries. And I love it. It's such a fun time. And honestly, even if you are not familiar with the Murder, She Wrote series, I 100% think that you could pick this book up, read it as a standalone, and get enjoyment out of it too. Because with these, unlike maybe some other Cozy Mysteries, you do not have to start from the first book whatsoever. This is very episodic. So if you like cozy set on cruise ships or books set on cruise ships in general, definitely check it out. Okay. Now, I love cruise ships so much, I've actually got another book on here in my top 5 faves that coincidentally takes place on a cruise ship, and that is Terns of Endearment by Donna. It is book 25 in the Meg Langslow series. Again, if you're familiar with my channel at all, I go on and on about this series because I absolutely adore it. Meg Langslow is our amateur sleuth. She's got a quirky family, and they live in a small town in Virginia, I believe. But this particular book is set on a cruise ship, and so she's got a handful of her crazy family members joining her on this cruise as well. The reason that they're on it is because her grandfather, who's kind of like this famous Steve Irwin character because he has a show and is very well known for helping out kind of like wildlife and ecology and everything like that. He has been asked to also guest lecture on this cruise ship, and so Meg and her family pack up to support him and then also kind of have a little miniature vacay. So like I said, a handful of her crazy family members join in as well. And I like this book for a couple of reasons. One, obviously it's set on a cruise ship, but also kind of like side characters that we see in the book that are just for this specific book. They are romance authors, which I always love kind of overlap. One of my favorite kind of genres of cozy mysteries are writers, and so it's kind of like an amalgamation in this book because we've got the Meg Langslow series, we've got the cruise ship setting, and we've got writers or authors also kind of being introduced for this. Now, these authors though are not at all related to Meg, but she kind of gets entangled in with them because one of their writing friends or frenemies, I guess, ends up being murdered, and so she's kind of helping these other women solve it, but also looking at them a little suspicious because each of them, as you learn, could have a murder for, or could have a murder, could have a motive for murdering this other person. And it's just a fun time all around. One of the things that I love most is Meg's family, and so to see their hijinks on the seas is just another fun time to be had. Yes, so next we have Murder in the Mystery Suite, which is the first book in the Book Retreat Mystery Series by Ellery Adams, and I love this series so much. The first one especially because it's just your introduction into the world in general. But this one is actually what I would consider a bookish cozy. It's set in Storyton Hall, which is as the title says, a book retreat. It is a kind of getaway, a B&B for book lovers. You've got themed rooms, you know, the Jane Austen room, the Shakespeare, etc., etc. And so if you want to basically have a vacation where you go and read, or are in this beautiful setting where you can browse libraries and stuff like that, this place is the spot for you. What's also fun is that the town itself is kind of almost like a fairy tale village kind of town, and what I mean by that is that you've got other shops that are named or themed in very bookish ways as well, which is just super whimsical. But in this one we have our amateur sleuth who is also a mom. She becomes kind of like the manager of this retreat, of this B&B. And so within the first book, of course, she's solving a murder, but there's also kind of this secondary mystery that unfolds that you learn about that kind of carries itself throughout the whole series. I don't want to give it away. The first book is the only time it's a spoiler, but then everything else after that you're kind of in the know about. But I adore this because it's just so heavily bookish, and I know that each of the books in the series kind of remind me of Clue in the title, because it's almost like Murder in the Paperback Suite, Murder in the Mystery Parlor. I think I got those reversed. Paperback Parlor Mystery Suite, and so on and so forth, which is super fun, and I just love it. It's just so, you know, it's such a good time if you enjoy books and the idea of being surrounded by them. You kind of have the murder be secondary because you're so immersed in this bookish world, which I absolutely love. So definitely check it out if you like bookish books or books about books, because this one definitely fits that bill. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the next one, of course, you know I had to include the Bake Shop Mystery Series by Ellie Alexander on this list. And more specifically, I'm talking about the 7th book, which is Another One Bites the Crust. Admittedly, I think the reason that it packs such an emotional punch for me is because of the build-up up until now. I will say for her books in this series, I think it would benefit you better if you start from the beginning. Otherwise, when you do kind of get to the point, it, like I said, packs more of an emotional punch because you know who these characters are. You've kind of followed through with them up until now to understand their journey to get here, and that's exactly what this one does. So without giving kind of too much spoils, we've got Jules, who is our amateur sleuth. She runs the bakery Tort in this one, and so if you haven't guessed by now, it's a culinary cozy. But for this one, she actually is trying to help her friend Lance clear his name because he's actually on, I don't want to say trial, but he's in the crosshairs as being the #1 suspect for a murder. And up until now, of course, you have seen their friendship develop, but honestly, I feel like this book is really where Lance's personality shines which, if you are not familiar with this series, you may not understand the true depth of what that means. So I definitely urge you to at least read books 1 through 6. But I really enjoyed seeing Lance kind of come out of his, I don't want to say shell, but almost like the masks that he puts on. Because full disclosure, I did not love him up until this book. You know, he's a sassy best friend side character, but I couldn't really get a handle on what he truly was like. He always seemed to just be putting on sass without much substance. And in this book, he lets his guard down. And, you know, as soon as he does that and he's showing his vulnerability, that's really when the emotional punch of the story kicks in. And it's just so fun to watch. It's really endearing as well, because I think that Lance and Jules definitely get a lot closer as she is helping him through this. And another aspect, which again has nothing to do with the murder, but more so the kind of like the inter-conflict between the characters. We have Carlos make an appearance, which is Jules's estranged husband, I guess you can say, and he does something that I won't give any spoiler which way or another, but he does something that made me tear up. So again, the reason why I like it has nothing to do with the murder whatsoever, but let's be honest, like most cozies, you're not there for the murder, you're there for like everything else. And in this one, it's definitely the character development. Of course, you've got all of the baked goods and the descriptions of stuff like that, but really it's the character development that gets me, and absolutely why I added it to this list. Okay, here we are already to our last book, and last is used very loosely here because this is just a cherry-picked group of 5. But number 5 on this list is the Seaside Cafe mystery series, more specifically book number 1, which is Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker. I actually read this a couple years ago. Has it been that long? Last year? 2 years ago. I don't remember, but I read it in the summer. And it is the first book in what is such a refreshing series, I guess you can say. Everything lined up with this book when I was reading it, which is why I think I added it to this list. Now, don't get me wrong, the writing is great, the characters are great, but the stars aligned when I read it, and it just felt right. It takes place in the summer on the beach. I read it during the summer. Our main character is opening up an iced tea shop, and of course, if you're reading that during the summer, that's all you want is some like refreshing beverage. But she returns home to open up this iced tea shop. Lo and behold, before she can really like get off the ground running, one of the customers who visits her shop is found dead on the beach, clutching one of her shop's glasses. And so all of a sudden, you've got the community who was so supportive of her turning their back because they don't know if what she had in her tea killed this guy or not. So naturally, it's up to her to clear her name and kind of get the town back on her side. And it's just fun all around. I love her aunt in this one because she, excuse me, she doesn't have her mom there, but her aunt is more so kind of like her mother figure. You've got a, you know, love interest scenario as well. And another kind of charming aspect is that it's a little bit also of a folklore as well that kind of sprinkles its way in there. And what I mean by that is her aunt says that the women in her family are cursed in terms of finding love, because if they ever do, then all of the men in their life kind of run away or some meet some untimely demise. And of course that conflicts with the fact that she's interested in this other guy. So I found that to be a fun little side element as well. But really the time of year that it takes place in this setting is quintessential beach read. So I know that this video is coming out basically on the heels of summer, so I would urge you, if you haven't picked it up yet, to definitely add it to your summer TBR, because yeah, it's so refreshing. Like, it makes you want to curl up with this book, kick your feet up at the beach or by the pool, and really just dive in. And I mean, technically speaking, if you're looking for a armchair couch getaway in the middle of winter, it hits that as well. But it's an overall fun time. And fun fact, I will say, because my friend Courtney over at Cortagonist has finished the series, she said it's one of the best series or endings to a cozy series that she's read. She's cried over it, which I admittedly have not finished the series. And now I'm really hesitant, mostly because I don't want it to end, but also I don't want to cry. Yeah, it's just fun all around, and it definitely has depth, watching the characters grow and everything like that. So if that's your jam, check this one out as well. Okay, so there you have it. That is my top 5 favorite cozies, at least for now. I feel like I should put like a fat asterisk because that list is cyclical, and I really had to hone it down to just 5 for the purpose of this video. But let me know if you've read any of these, and if so, do they make your top 5 list as well? What top 5 books or single books or any books are on your cozy mystery favorites? Because obviously, I'm always looking to add to my TBR, and if they are 5-star read for you, then they could likely be 5-star reads for me as well. So thanks for joining me. Like I said, this is kind of part of my mini series that I've got coming up where I spotlight all things favorites in terms of cozy. So be sure to check out the next video coming out for that. So happy reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!